Welcome to the Simply Pediatrics Podcast, simplifying holistic healthcare for infants and children. We're so glad you're here. Join Jennifer Zethner, holistic pediatric nurse practitioner and holistic mom of 3 on a mission. Listen in as she shares the answers to the most asked questions from parents in her practice every day and offers parents practical strategies and actionable steps to support their child's health and well-being. Enjoy this insightful episode of the Simply Pediatrics Podcast and stay tuned for more information at the end of the podcast.
Hi, I'm Jennie Zethner. That's right, I'm here in my car. I don't know about the rest of you, but I find sitting in my car to be very peaceful. It happens to be one of the quietest places I have in my life. I have 3 children. I work full time. I'm busy like the rest of you, and I really would like to share information, and doing it from my car is most convenient. So I'm going to ask you to please forgive if there's any commotion behind me, any beeping, any dogs barking, ambulances, fire trucks, etc. I'll do the best I can to find quiet places. I assure you I will never be driving my vehicle when I speak to you. I will always be pulled over and parked. I am typically parked waiting for one of my children to come out of an event or something. So that is what I'm doing with my time here. And I look forward to sharing information with you. And again, forgive me for being a little unprofessional being here in my car, but I hope it works. And with that, let's get started.
Today's episode, The Pillars of Sleep.
Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Today we are talking about a very important topic to all of my parents out there, sleep. I get texts from families asking me about sleep. Every single visit, families are asking me about sleep. I get it. Sleep is super, super important. As you know, I have 3 children, and my own personal experience with each of my kids was really different. You know, my first little guy, who's now a grown adult, he was just really easy. Like, he just went to sleep. He did his thing. Every once in a while, he would call us in there, but he was just easy. So he kind of set the path for us, thinking that the other 2 would be just as easy, and they were not. So every child is really different. Every child is different, and you know, the best and worst advice I ever got about sleep was from someone who told me that if I wanted to sleep, I shouldn't have had any children. And so that still does really stand. But let's just talk about some of the things that we can do to help. Like, what are some of the important pillars to make sure you have in place to potentially get to a child who's, going to sleep? Either they're going to sleep easy for you, or helping them to sleep through the night. So a few things, right? Most important is to keep track of wherever you are in the world and wherever you are. Pay attention to the season. Here in New York, June 21st is the longest day of the year, and December 21st, shortest day of the year. So it's really important to acknowledge the season, because on the longest day of the year, right, the sun is setting very late. And why is this important? Why is it important to know when the sun sets? So in June here in New York, the sun sets real late, around 8:30, even 9 o'clock. It doesn't get dark until then. And in the winter, when we're having the shortest days here in New York, it's dark around like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And it's really important to acknowledge this as adults, because everybody, adults, children, infants, everybody's body is very much in rhythm with the sun. And when the sun is getting ready to set and going down, our body starts to make melatonin, which helps us to go to sleep. So try to pay attention to the season and work within that as best as you can. I know that sometimes, for your little guys, 9 o'clock is too late in the summertime. And for your older kids, 4:30, 5 o'clock is way too early. Just be mindful of it, because what can happen is, and you've probably experienced it yourself, if you go to sleep way after the sun has gone down, your body actually thinks it's in distress, it's stressed. And so chemicals are released into the body to keep us alert and awake. And you've seen this, right? If your little one stays up way too late, what happens? They go bing, bing, they're all over the place. They're hyperactive, and now they've stayed up way beyond the point where they should have, and they've got too much energy. So be mindful of the season that you're in, putting your child to sleep. And that does include our little ones. That does include even our infants. They really, they'll fight that sleep a lot, but they really are trying to settle themselves down. And for little infants, 0 to 3, that's when that's kind of the witching hour. The witching hour for parents is when they can't get their child out of their arms and they're constantly, fussy and clingy and just want to be held. And it's usually around that time where the sun is going down. They're trying to settle themselves is what they're doing. And then for all children, for our school age and for our toddlers and even teenagers, being mindful that they go to sleep around the time when the sun's going down. And then be patient, parents, because on the longest and shortest days of the year, what are our kids going to do on the other end? They're going to wake up early in the summer. When the sun is rising at 5:36, you're going to have some early risers. And in the winter, when the sun isn't up until, 7 or 8, then they may sleep in. So take advantage of these times and understand and accept them as well. That's really important. Try to set yourself up for success by avoiding screen use. Anything with a blue light, right? So that's all of our screens, even TV for a few hours before we go to bed. You don't want any exposure to blue light. That will trick the brain into thinking that the sun isn't going down and will kind of disrupt the melatonin production. So be mindful that our kids aren't watching TV right until the point where they go to sleep, TV or any other screen. Try to shut your Wi-Fi as well at night. If you can shut your Wi-Fi and decrease some of that radiation, that will also help yourself and your children to sleep better. I talk about this often, but fresh air every day, fresh air, really, really important. Whether it's 90 degrees or 2 degrees, get outside, get that fresh air, especially in the later part of the day. We all respond really well to fresh air, and it does settle the body down to go to sleep. So definitely make sure you're getting your children of all ages, newborns through their teen years, make sure they're getting enough fresh air each day. It will help them to sleep better. If you have kiddos that are sleeping in their own rooms, they may not sleep as well as if they were co-sleeping with a sibling. This is a big one here in the United States, that we put our children into their own rooms. And they don't do that in a lot of other parts of the world. And it's not because they don't have, the availability of having extra bedrooms. It's just not really natural to sleep alone. We are meant to be close to one another. So whether that means that you're co-sleeping, you have that family bed where everybody's sleeping in the bed, or you have your children sleeping in the same room and maybe they're sleeping in the same bed, or at the very least have them in the same room in different beds, they will sleep better. I think families get a little nervous putting their kids together because they're afraid one's going to wake up the other. But in addition to them bonding, the energies of having the other child in the room with them does help them sleep better. So whether you have the space to have a beautiful room for each of your children, consider putting them all together in one room. They really will sleep better this way. And don't feel bad if you're co-sleeping. This is, there's an article up on my website and on my social media, and I'll attach it here. Co-sleeping is more natural and more common than you think. So don't have shame and guilt about that. If you're safely co-sleeping, that is also an optimal way to get sleep for families that works for them. If that works for you, don't feel bad about it. Sleep is important. Don't overlook diet in our kids, right? Artificial preservatives, food colorings, sweeteners, and even just too much sugar later in the afternoon, evening for our kids. That dessert that we do here in the U.S., not optimal for kids in order to get them down to sleep. It's going to kind of rev their system back up. So be mindful of what your child is eating before they go to sleep. And for our little ones that we're giving, bottles to, I don't recommend bottles after the age of 1. But for those who are doing that, don't think that you need to fill your child up. We have this real misconceived idea that we need to eat a lot of dinner, finish everything that's on your plate, have a big bottle of milk before you go to... Doesn't work. If you do that experiment with yourself, try to go to sleep hours after your last meal versus, an hour or so after your last meal. Our bodies don't work well that way. If your body's like a car, you don't need all that energy put in. You don't need all that fuel put into your body when you're going to rest. So lighter meals in the later part of the day, and certainly don't think that you need to fill your child up in order for them to sleep through the night. Most of the time that does backfire on us. All right, moms and dads, I hope this information was helpful for you. We will attach some links to the bottom for some other information. And remember, parenting is a journey. You're doing an amazing job. Stay curious and keep learning, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining Jennie on the Simply Pediatrics Podcast. We hope that the valuable information she shared in this episode will inspire and empower you on your holistic parenting journey. If you would like to learn more about Jennie, her Simply Pediatrics practice, or anything that she spoke about today, please check the show notes that accompany this podcast and you'll find all the links and resources you need. You can also sign up for the Simply Pediatrics mailing list so that you receive Jennie's weekly newsletters packed with vital information and holistic parenting journeys. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider giving this page a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any episodes. And don't forget to connect with us by sharing your thoughts in the comments section below. Follow Simply Pediatrics on any and all of the social media platforms. And if you're interested in an in-person or a virtual appointment with Jennie, please see the contact details in the show notes. Stay tuned for more episodes packed with a wealth of powerful information to support you on your holistic parenting path. See you next time.